Have you ever watched a movie or TV show that was so bad you wanted to throw your laptop off the nearest bridge, or worse yet, you wanted to throw someone else off a bridge? There are shows that are bad, there are shows that are really boring, and with those, you just want to turn it off and watch something else. But there are shows which are so ridiculously garbage, you get physically angry at how low they set the bar. You feel as if the time you wasted should have been compensated for. It literally feels like you got cheated and scammed by a Nigerian prince on Omegle, but at least those scammers put in effort. This show set the bar super low and dug a 6-foot hole underneath it, eventually falling down to the planet's core. I don't recommend watching this shit. You'd rather have your balls fondled by your stepfather because at least you're not related. Today I'll be discussing what makes The Greatest Demon Lord is Reborn as a Typical Nobody, stupid fucking title by the way, absolute dog shit. It goes without saying that the name is too obvious and too long, but what sets the show apart from other shows of its kind is absolutely fucking nothing. I mean literally, if you watered down Isekai Demon Lord OP main character fantasy reincarnation into a bland dish, you would get this anime. It's done everything it possibly can to not stand out. It's supposed to be generic. It's a crime to move away from any generic trope in this anime and come up with something original, innovative, or interesting. This is the $2 store version of the Misfit of Demon Academy, which is a $5 store version of The Devil is a Part-Timer, which is actually an interesting show because the devil working in a restaurant is at least original, creative, weird, and fresh. The basic story is that the Demon Lord is reincarnated to ordinary parents with basically the same powers and has social anxiety. He wants friends, goes to school, flexes on cocky dickheads, and gets bitches along the way. Never heard that one before. Here is the problem everyone noticed when starting this show. The dialogue has been pulled out of a politician's toilet. Everyone is so fucking formal, it's like no one's ever spoken to a real person before. The main character is the biggest demonstration of this bullshit. Do me a favor, go watch the first 10 minutes of the first episode on YouTube. I tried to gather a set of dialogues that show this, but it's not a 1 or 2 time occurrence. It's the whole fucking season. He takes normal sentences like, wanna hang? And changes it to things like, will thou art transcend thy disinclinations to avoid my countenance and insert thy name into my bitch? Shut the fuck up. Nobody cares about you. It makes you cringe and I can't understand who let this shit out into the public. Before anyone calls me an uneducated, uncharismatic ignoramus who hates on things for no reason, believe me when I say, I tried to enjoy this show. Isekai is my go-to genre, and yes, this isn't an isekai and just a reincarnation trope, but I love these types of shows, generally speaking, as long as it has some interesting, new, weird and in a fun way feature that makes it worth my time. I just don't see any of that here. Dialogues can make or break shows. I mean 90% of the TV show You is in a monologue, and it's one of the best things I've ever seen. Death Note isn't filled with insane fight scenes and ridiculous graphics every single episode. I mean that exists there of course, but it hooks us in by monologue and dialogue, and well thought through circumstances with credible explanations for the events. Hell, dialogue is 90% of the first 4, and let's be honest, best seasons of Game of Thrones. I'm gonna add a slight caveat here though. I started thinking I was watching a parody show. At some point during the anime I thought, what if this really is just a dub over of a generic show and it's meant to poke fun at its genre? That little twist would turn this whole show around. I mean it would become genuinely watchable because it's so trash, it can actually be funny at times. Not funny as in good funny, but more like the voice actors know it's a parody, we know it's a parody, and the only one who doesn't think that is the online troll who thinks he's so cool to go against the majority opinion and says things like, Full Metal Brotherhood is mid bro, and this show has good writing, only I can see it. Yeah, fuck that guy, I hate him too. But unfortunately for us, this show is fully taking itself seriously and failing at it harder than I did at keeping my laugh in during Jason's death scene. This brings me to the next reason the show pissed me off beyond saving. The characters are all just retarded, and not in the interesting way. There is nothing relatable about anyone on the screen. It's like they're playing an RPG where they have to pick between a set of choices. The connection between the events don't flow well at all. You know how in shows, we know that the characters are doing things outside the screens they're in? Well, that's not true here. Ard needs Arena to appear and she does. Ginny is basically a slave to him after he helped her once and has nothing interesting about her personality except being a walking, talking cartoon succubus. I mean there are succubus in hentai who have more character development and intricate personalities than this bitch. Don't even get me started on this fuckwit. What's the laziest written character you've ever seen in anime? Well, he's gonna look like Itachi after you see Ard. This dude is the greatest demon lord in history, retains his powers, and rather than having an interesting goal that the audience can get behind, all he gives a shit about is being less lonely. To top it off, it's not like we see a deep and complicated person get over his dark insecurities. This motherfucker is just really damn cringe to watch. Many people thought that the harem wasn't necessary or badly done. I can agree with both of them to an extent, but here's the thing about harem. It's easy to do it well. There isn't a single anime watcher who hasn't liked harems at one point in their lives, but there's a difference between girls randomly throwing themselves at the main character whilst having no other reason to be in the show, and interesting, complicated, and intelligent girls being drawn to an interesting, intelligent protagonist. Well, that's one way to justify absolute degeneracy. Okay, look, hot girls like a guy. Audience inserts themselves into the guy, no pun intended, and fantasizes about these scenarios while sitting in their bedrooms with their dick in their hands with their parents next door. That's harem in a sentence, and this is where ecchi really comes into play. There's only one anime that comes to mind when thinking about this. High School of the Dead, High School DxD, Monster Musume Sekirei. Okay, the point is, ecchi works, and I'll be the first to admit that sometimes mindless fan service can make weebs like us overlook terrible storylines. We will defend High School DxD to the death by fabricating how wholesome, intelligently written, and useful to society it is, and consume addictive ecchi constantly like the apes we are. This show doesn't have any of that. They removed the ecchi and gave us bland, oh sorry I accidentally fell onto you and grabbed your tits whilst my other girlfriend watches in shame. Dude, it's 2025, the most degenerate period in all of human history. Bullshit like that just doesn't hit the same anymore. We need heightened, sophisticated stimuli. What I'm really trying to say is, we've consumed so much cartoon porn that we need something heavier. I'm sure you can tell how far I've fallen by now. My point is this: don't remove things that don't need removing. You remove the ecchi, and now the only thing people are craving for is a chance to burn the material out of boredom. Despite all the hate I'm giving it, I can at least acknowledge and understand the motivation behind this. We've all chugged tropes like these forever, and just like children on meth, we just can't get enough of it. There's something about bright lights and overpowered protagonists that just get us going. But to anime creators, if you don't have the budget to make high quality content, don't spend your little time and money stealing our tiny attention spans. It just makes us feel like cucks who wasted their time watching their girlfriends get railed in a boring, anticlimactic way. It's not the predictability either. Is there anyone who can't predict what's going to happen in Solo Leveling's next episode? No. Is there anyone who won't bother to watch it? Of course not. Because of something called animation quality, true dedication to art, a high level budget, time and effort spent on making the audience happy. Some people who shared my opinions wondered why the anime creators chose to animate this piece of shit over other stories. The answer is shithousery, I mean money. They know that we buy into these tropes all the time, so to be fair to them, if you could easily make money without putting in a lot of effort by rehashing the same generic toxic garbage, would you not? The thing is though, in a world where anime is just a part of mainstream culture, bitches need more tits, guys need to be more edgy, degeneracy has to accelerate. In other words, higher competition with more anime requires higher anime quality to become popular. Getting back to things that piss me off in this anime. Wait for it. Ard's identity as a reincarnated demon lord is hidden. Dude, what the fuck? OPMC shows are interesting because OPMCs deep throat their enemies with girthy revelations about their status, and everyone turns their head like a Korean drama shouting wow, coming their pants at the same time with hype music playing in the background. This is the meat of the bones. This is the trope we come here for. If you're going to turn the side character's head toward the MC in surprising ways, then make them break their necks and orgasm into someone's face. Maximize the insanity because watering it down will reveal how trash and uninspired the story is. For example, if a monstrously ugly person wears a little bit of makeup, they look ugly and autistic, but if they maximize the makeup and slap it on like a tsunami, then they only look autistic. Their unattractiveness, which was a combination of ugliness and clownish makeup, went down by 50%. You understand what I'm saying? Because I fucking don't. Another problem with the show is that all the events are made up of complete cliches. You see a hot girl, you know some kind of interaction with the protagonist is going to occur. There's some cheap foreplay where nothing happens. Then the MC suddenly becomes a Riz master out of nowhere, despite having less social skills than a fake alpha male at a strip club who pays girls for conversation and acts like he's a man when conversation occurs. You know they're not going to fuck. You know she's going to give hints she likes him with teasers that wouldn't even arouse a 15-year-old discovering hentai for the first time. And then we move on to another cliche event of the exact same thing. It's an anime full of stupid, unnecessary, boring cliches. At the very least, they could have given us cool action sequences and good power progression. But in an anime where the MC is OP and the budget is low, progression is non-existent and the power sequences are dull as hell. I really don't enjoy ending things on a negative note, but I genuinely don't know what I can say that would make you want to watch this shit, except maybe that it's so bad and mindless that it can be ironically funny. There is one thing though, bad shows can remind us as viewers and anime creators what bad animes actually look like and what not to do in the future. We have a huge number of shows today that continue to raise the bar of anime quality, but once in a while, we can set the time aside to look at garbage. Maybe, trash can be a good break from the rapid increases in anime quality, leading to an unshakable addiction for the rest of our lives. Once in a while, we can watch things that are bad on purpose, and laugh along to the creator's quirky imagination whose sole purpose is to make us happy. I'm sure we can all think of genuinely nonsense anime that have a special place with us precisely because of how over-the-top, illogical, badly written, or uninteresting they are. Anime doesn't just include masterfully written pieces of art like Death Note, One Piece, and Your Name. It also includes ridiculous things like Rent-a-Girlfriend, Domestic Girlfriend, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and even the supremely trash King's Game. These are weird and quirky, addictive and irrational, but they all belong in the world of anime. In a community as diverse as ours, I'm certain there's someone out there who enjoyed this stuff, and that's perfectly fine. Rather than condemning them as an ignoramus with shit taste, let's accept all different interests and opinions and enjoy the medium that was always designed for everyone all around the world. This show is terrible, but it still belongs in the anime world just like the rest of them. Till next time.